should have been fully bandaged. I think that would have been funnier. She would have just been like, "Is your war over?"
Hello, everybody!
Hey, what's up?
It's another movie podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matthew, joined by my other homies,
Andrew
and Rico de Gallo.
We're a little rusty, as you can tell.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. Awkward intros are part of our forte.
Honestly, it's just become like a standard at this point. I feel like we're just more attuned to awkwardly introducing shit versus just being normal and casual for once.
I mean, if you look at the last like 3 podcasts that we did, each single time you and I have had a little bit of a bicker. So
we were just talking about this before we recorded.
This time I just straight up pointed at him. I was just like,
you did.
Do
and
it.
I was like,
do it.
Oh yeah, it's me. It's me.
I was like, we're not doing this again.
Yeah, but now we're just doing it differently. Instead of arguing about who goes first, I go first, and we just keep rambling. So,
And as you have probably noticed, we are live.
Yeah.
On Twitch.
In Rico's bedroom.
Yeah. We're not going to be doing over the mics or over Discord or anything like that. We're going to be trying to meet up regularly on Sundays. Might be a little flexible right there, or it might be a little bent right there because of work and whatever. But we're going to be meeting up Sundays, and we're going to be streaming here and then uploading on YouTube. And what is that YouTube page?
It is another movie podcast, my friend, so make sure to follow us. It's in that little picture in the middle of the screen right there.
But what if they want other media to follow us on?
well, now that I think about it, there's this one thing. It's like this app. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, right? It's called TikTok. It's a little underground. It's up and coming.
But pretty niche.
We do, yeah, it's still up and coming. But we do have a TikTok called Another Movie Podcast. Feel free to check that out, where we will be posting snippets from our episodes and just kind of, just posting little fun things here and there, like bloopers. But we also have an Instagram and a Facebook, which I will let Matt talk about a little bit.
Yeah, so nothing really much has changed there. Just going to be uploading and updating statuses as usual as possible. Yeah, nothing much has really changed there. Yeah, honestly.
This is the first time we've actually recorded a new episode since February 24th, I believe it was.
Yeah, so this is 10 months. No, yeah,
10 months. It's
in the making.
So like I said in the beginning, we're still a little rusty. We'll get back to form soon enough.
We're already better than what we were back then. We've listened to it. We were going good, but we had some hiccups. So
Agreed.
But at the same time, this is the first thing we've recorded since February. Now, we made some promises on that last episode that we were going to go into Akira and I can't remember the
Cocaine
other.
Bear.
Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
We're not doing that right now. Maybe we'll do that another time. Maybe. But for right now, we're starting again. We're starting new. This is a new setup. We have had Matt and Andrew get down on the fucking edits, and that has been pretty damn good. They've gotten into it like super quick.
Yes.
How's your guys' experience, Andrew, Matthew?
It's gotten a lot better each time. So, yeah, now that we're helping Rico over here with the edits, everything is going to start going a lot more smoothly. And also with our recent format change, we're going to start talking about one movie at a time instead of 2. So that's definitely going to make things a lot more easier flowing for each of us. So, yeah, we hope you guys like this new format change. We feel like we're going to enjoy it quite a bit. We're going to try to keep all these episodes condensed within like a 30 to 40 minute time frame, but yeah, we're really excited. Yeah, we're getting into our first movie today, and
what is that movie?
All right, yeah, I was about to say, I don't think there's anything else we really gotta go through. Yeah, let's just get into the movie discussion. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about a lot of movies, what we should talk about for our first episode back, and we feel like the one to talk about right now would definitely be Godzilla Minus One. Yeah, that's definitely in like the current movie zeitgeist right now. It's definitely the big movie going right now, and for good reason, because huzzah, it's actually pretty fucking good.
It's actually good.
It's fucking great. Holy shit, man.
Yes.
It's very good. Very good movie.
And going into this, I totally thought it was like one of the MonsterVerse movies. I didn't realize it was completely separate until I was in the theater, because I don't watch trailers or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't hear anything about it. Went into it completely blind, and the whole time I was trying to be like, oh, is this the guy that leads into this? Is this this? Is this that? And I was like, wait, why is he so little at this point in time? I was like, he's millions of years old or whatever.
And here's my thing. I was talking to Matt about it because me and Matt went to go see it together. And after the movie, I felt like they had actually referenced the MonsterVerse in it with the whole shipwreck thing. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys remember in Kong Skull Island, John Goodman's character was on the same ship that Godzilla had destroyed in the MonsterVerse. But they referenced it in the same way. And they have American actors voicing over and saying like, oh, the USS so-and-so was attacked by a mysterious creature, and they're like inspecting the boat, and it's clearly Godzilla who destroyed it, and then that was John Goodman's whole thing with his character in Kong Skull Island. So I was like, maybe it's not really like, it is probably not connected to the MonsterVerse, but it's like clearly making references, because it makes a lot of references to other Godzilla movies too. Like I was explaining to Matt, just skipping a little ahead to the ending, the way they stopped Godzilla is very similar to how they stopped him in the 1954 original movie with the weapon called the Oxygen Destroyer.
Also,
yeah, full spoilers.
We're gonna put it in the captions. We talked about it beforehand. There will be little blockation saying spoiler, full review.
Even in the YouTube description, we're giving you guys a heads
also,
up.
if you can read a title.
Yes. That would be great.
Rico has got us covered in that department. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, unless you can't read, yes.
Yes, exactly.
Watch us just forget to put it and people comment, why did you guys spoil it with no warning? And we'll be like, we did!
Yeah.
This fucking guy.
Yeah. Full spoiler discussion on Godzilla.
Sorry, and you guys know I'm usually good on that. I usually say spoiler alert, but I just forgot this time. Mm-hmm. So with that whole thing, like it's clearly like they do make there is a clear love for Godzilla lore in it. Like with that, the way they stopped Godzilla at the end of this movie was very similar with the Oxygen Destroyer. They just used the Oxygen Destroyer in a different way, I guess, because in the way he stopped here is very just reminiscent of how they stopped him in the original, because the way they lure him into a water, just like a huge ocean of water, and then they use the weapon on him. Like it's just exactly how the original went. So it was very interesting similarity that I caught.
Did you also watch the original?
I did watch it a few days ago in preparation for this. So I do have that knowledge in my head right now for comparison's sake.
I only have like little clips in my head from when I was a kid. I'm no use in the conversation there.
That's okay. I mean,
I'll take what you guys are saying as gospel.
I'm repping Godzilla. He's my boy. I rooted for him in Kong versus Godzilla. He won because he won. But like
they both won. Man.
Godzilla for me has really been one of those things that like I've always been into, but I've never really like talked about it with anyone except for people that I knew that were into it, like my childhood friends or whatever, you know. So getting to talk about it now is really cool because I know stuff about it.
But I mean, is Godzilla Minus One as good as Godzilla 2000?
What are you talking about? The Roland Emmerich version? Yeah. Okay. I actually. That's funny. Yeah, I actually did watch that one too recently, and it's quite interesting. Okay.
You think you're fucking funny, huh?
we can get into it a little bit, like just really quick, because like it's pretty fresh in my memory. We don't have to go too deep into it, and I was telling Andrew how I would fix that Godzilla Roland Emmerich version. Yeah. One thing to fix it. Okay, there's a few things that would fix that movie. The major thing that I would fix is just change the fucking title. Yeah. Definitely, it did not need to be titled Godzilla because he doesn't act like Godzilla at all. They did take a few kind of vague, like references from like how Godzilla got formed in like the original 50s one. Like, okay, he is like basically like a nuclear lizard.
Iguana.
Yeah.
Spicy iguana. And
then Matthew Broderick's character is like oddly Oh,
thank you, dude. No, thank you.
That's okay. We were just reading a comment there. But yeah. The 2000s, I think it might be 99, 2000. Anyway, the Roland Emmerich version, it's definitely okay. It's definitely not great by any means, but it's an okay monster movie, bad Godzilla movie.
For me, that was my favorite Godzilla movie for like 20 years.
As a kid, I really liked it. I definitely really liked it as a kid.
Hold on, before we go any further, did you ever like rewatch it at any point in time during that 20 years?
I hope not.
Okay.
I watched it a lot as a kid. As a kid, I watched it all the time. It was my first exposure to Godzilla. I got the toy for it and everything. But Anyways, back to Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah, let's get back.
Would you guys like to go into a synopsis of it real quick?
Yeah, this one takes place during the World War II era. I think it takes place like right at the end of World War II. I think we're introduced in 1945.
It's post-war Japan, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely at the tail end of it, and we're following our main protagonist, whose name is Koichi. Definitely this movie has heavy themes of, survivor's guilt, just, guilt in general, freaking redemption, and yeah, this main dude who we're introduced to really pulls all these emotions off incredibly well.
Very human.
Yes. And when we're first introduced to him, he's basically he's a kamikaze pilot, and he's basically abandoning his post. He gets there and he's complaining of some mechanical failures. But one of the dudes picks up that it's like, no, you're lying. But like, I understand. Like, we're at the end of the war. We're losing. Like there's no reason you need to go back out there. Yeah. I'm just gonna. That's fine. So I thought that was a really cool moment because that guy, full spoilers again, we'll just get into that first sequence because that's definitely one of the most memorable talking points that we all want to get into. But that first sequence where Godzilla is also first introduced, we get our basically our two main characters introduced right at the beginning, which I think this is like a perfect intro for a movie. Like, it was great. It's a perfect introduction.
It was fantastic. It just felt so... It felt very reminiscent of like old school Godzilla filmmaking, at least with like how they were trying to capture the optominous like force of nature that is Godzilla. But he like in this point in time, he's like still so young and fresh. Clearly, because he's not as big as he gets later on in the film.
He's like only like 50 feet tall.
Like he's not that big, and I think that's interesting because the whole scaling and size of Godzilla has been debated for years. Some people are like, well, the Toho version of Godzilla is the accurate size. Well, the MonsterVerse Godzilla is just bigger and better, and there's always like debate about Godzilla's height. So I think it's like cool that they show like, well, it can get bigger or stay the same size. It doesn't matter, because I know in the MonsterVerse too, like with Godzilla versus Kong, they make it very clear that Godzilla isn't like singular. He's like a species of like a reptilian god-like creature. So I thought that was like, maybe that's just what it is. Like Godzilla, this Godzilla Minus One is just like a whole new species of Godzilla. Because he's clearly different from past iterations as well, which I really liked.
And one other thing before I want to hear Rico's thoughts. Another thing that really stood out to me about this introduction of the movie is it had a really like big horror vibes.
Dude,
yes.
100%.
Like when you first see Godzilla, he's like a terrifying force of nature. Yeah. Because like he's just a creature, and it seems like he's just in his natural habitat. And it seems like the locals know what this creature is, but it kind of just catches these soldiers off guard. And
because one of the soldiers do reference that the locals know what it is, like they make it apparent. So
and Godzilla did not attack first.
He didn't.
People came up with, they were trying to tell the main character Koichi to shoot it with his, he had like a plane with like
the machine gun on the plane.
Machine gun on the plane.
It was the heavy artillery that they had.
Yeah, everyone else came up with it and started shooting with like handguns and shit.
They had like their fucking like World War II rifles.
Yeah, and then like, but it's very like a critical moment, because this moment when he could have possibly have killed Godzilla at this point with that gun. That gun might have actually been able to do it.
Just because of how small Godzilla was at the time.
At this time, like he was small, and
I was telling Matt when we saw it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
But I noticed when they were first shooting at Godzilla, like
he was taking damage.
Like he was, like you can hear the puncture wounds of like the bullets hitting his like his gums and his like face or whatever. So I was like, okay, so it does hurt him. It does do something. So I thought that was interesting. But you were saying
also in this movie, Godzilla has an insane like Wolverine type of healing regeneration.
Yeah.
Like we have never seen it like this before. Like there are some crazy moments in this movie that it showcases it. So, but there's also a moment after this scene where he gets hit with a nuclear bomb, and then he like gets even bigger. He shoots up like in a matter of like a couple of years. He just explodes into this like skyscraper type entity. But throughout this movie, this is completely set up by the beginning scene where he starts killing the shit out of all the people on this island. Like all the people that were attacking him, he brutally murdered them. Like it really set the tone of how the conflict is going to be. In most traditional like Godzilla movies, it's either Godzilla versus humanity or Godzilla versus another monster the same size. Critically, some people would say that this age-old Godzilla versus humanity being the whole like theme for like the whole atomic war and everything like that. So that's kind of like a lot of people love this kind of story more than the other ones, and I can sympathize.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just because, like, I was telling Matt, like, I personally prefer the more seriously toned Godzilla movies, which is something I appreciated about the 2014 MonsterVerse Godzilla. Like, it kind of was like, it was a little more serious and it was a little more grounded. Granted, the character work could have been a lot better. Like, how I know so many people say this, but I will still stand by this statement. They should not have killed Bryan Cranston's character off. He was like the main, like
he
everyone,
was the trailer.
Like everyone kept.
That's what they sold you on.
That's what I'm saying. Like, exactly. And everyone kept talking about like, oh shit, Walter White's going up against Godzilla. Like it was gonna be crazy, and then he fucking dies in like the first 20 minutes. Yeah. So that
I'll give it a look. It was the first hour. First 20 minutes, the thing with his wife, and then he meets up with his son, Aaron Taylor Johnson. No, like, it is a little bit longer. I mean, I'll say like 40 minutes, 50 minutes.
With that, like, his lines are in the trailer. It's like, because those are his lines, like, he delivers them. He gives such a great performance in that movie that it's like, yes. Yeah. If you had him throughout the whole thing, it would have been way more epic in tone.
It overshadows our other main protagonist,
exactly.
Which is like Aaron Taylor Johnson.
No offense to Aaron Taylor Johnson, but just I would have preferred like Bryan Cranston as the lead. Like
he has a lot more acting chops, I feel like.
But this movie, like I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement. Like it fixes that character problem definitely. Like, and go ahead, Rico.
Not every single. I would say in the MonsterVerse Godzilla movies, the worst part about the MonsterVerse Godzilla ones are the humans.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The only difference between the MonsterVerse humans and this -1 version of humans is that it actually has a story with the humans. Like, if it was just the humans on their own, that's a good movie, just like right there. If you took out Godzilla, just made it a war or something. That's a good story right there. They hold up on their own. If you take the MonsterVerse humans, there's nothing there.
Yeah, they're very boring characters.
Nothing there.
Very annoying characters.
They're just cutaways, basically, and they're always like caricatures of how humans are, making jokes, making quips, like, oh, all this stuff. I just rewatched Godzilla vs. Kong. Holy crap, bro.
It's pure schlock.
The only thing I like,
pure schlock.
I couldn't find the exact time he was in the movie, but the only thing I liked about it was like the fight scenes between Godzilla and Kong, which is
the only thing good. Yeah,
that was the only thing I liked about it. Other than that, I was just like, I don't care that the girl from Stranger Things is here. I want to watch Godzilla fight. I want to watch the spicy iguana fight the monkey. Like, that's what I'm here to see.
Yeah, this movie, like, back to -1, like, with the whole characters, like, it actually makes you care about Koichi and his whole plight, his whole struggle.
So speaking of, like, the struggle, do you think we should move into the next part that we want to talk about, which is when Godzilla first invades the city in Japan?
Yeah, I definitely want to set up that, like, he does, after the first, like, initial attack, throughout the city, he meets... I'm blanking on
Noriko, yeah.
Noriko.
Yeah, he comes across another girl that he doesn't want to be romantically involved with at the time, but he comes across her, and they also come across another little girl. And,
Noriko had the little
That's right, yeah. Noriko had the little girl.
Because she was orphaned, and Noriko took her in because it was the mother's dying wish for her to take care of the child. Yeah. I think that's what was said in the movie. I could be wrong.
Yeah. So it's a unique dynamic having like this family that isn't technically like, you know,
family. It's an adopted family.
Exactly.
They're all orphans. All three of them are orphans. The main character's parents died in the attack. Noriko's parents died, and then the little babies. So they're all just like a found family right there.
Yeah, and the writing makes you care about all these characters too.
And then Sumiko is the the nanny eventually. Like she gives the main character Koichi shit for not dying.
Yeah, because she was like, you were supposed to die with honor in the war, and you survived with like just guilt and shame.
Yeah, like she was surprised to see him back. Like you're not supposed to be back
first
here.
she was like kind of happy, but then you see the happiness kind of turn to why the fuck are you here?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like it's instantly because like okay, everyone knows what he was in there for.
Yeah,
and
and she's like, she's like, it's because of people like you that we all are dying now because you didn't do what you were supposed to do because you're a coward. Basically, you didn't kill yourself in a kamikaze attack. And the thing that's very interesting about her is that she's like the opposite of them. She in the beginning, in her introduction, she's her kids were killed in it. So she's like the parent that survived it, and then she takes on a more like traditional role, or as like an auntie basically to the kid, which pays off way later on that we'll get into at the end.
Yeah, none of these characters are like one dimensional, which I love.
Great characters.
Which everyone here was actually very well written,
and like it gives props to like all the cast. Like all the cast, they all did really great.
Oh yeah,
yeah, dude. Like freaking, just everyone here actually like has like memorable lines. Actually has some like character depth. Actually, have personality to them.
Yeah.
Like yeah, this is like the one Godzilla movie where I actually like cared about each character, and there's certain scenes where we'll get into in a bit where it really like hams up the emotions and you're really feeling it. Like there's
sure.
Okay,
it's just raw.
I gotta ask.
Raw acting.
During some of these emotional moments, I just have to ask. Mostly to Rico.
Oh, all right.
I have to ask Rico. Did you cry during this movie?
Yes.
I knew it. I knew it. No, I was feeling it because I was like, I almost cried during a few moments, and I'm like, all right, if I'm almost crying, I'm pretty sure Rico's feeling it.
Yeah, I cried quite a few times. I was next to this elderly guy too.
You're always next to old people. I'm like, dude, there's something you want to tell us?
He stole my.
It's the time of the day he goes.
Are you going to the early bird specials, Rico?
This guy actually took my seat. It was assigned seating.
This guy took my seat.
He was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, guy. Like, I can switch spots with you." I was like, "Just take it. It's all right. The movie's starting." So I was like, "Whatever." And then like I was like, "Fuck." Because okay, so with Koichi's acting, this man is so damn good. This actor did a fantastic job. There's several different parts throughout this movie that we'll get into where he's dealing with survivor's guilt and loss, like pure first, like right next to the loss
and PTSD, major PTSD for
exactly.
Sure. Like that bro was.
And one of the first signs that other people see of this PTSD is when they're on the boat. So after Koichi finds like this little found family, he takes them in. He needs to find work. So then he starts doing these military mine cleanup projects because there's 60,000 mines in the water. Very dangerous job. And that kind of shows you where his mindset is at. Because he doesn't want to progress with his life. He doesn't want to live anymore. So he's willing to take this like very deadly job just to support this family. He could have found any other way to do it, but he chose to do that. Because he kind of just wants to die. He's suffering. So he does this whole thing, and we're introduced to Doc, the kid, and then also Captain Noda, I believe his name is.
Captain Noda, yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about them for a bit?
I really like the dynamic of all of them together. Like, I like how at first the main character, he's kind of like a bit more reserved around them.
Yeah.
And they're all just trying to get him out of his shell and be like, hey, man, we're all cool here. Come on, let's be friends. We're all friends. Like, that's basically what they were doing, especially the kid. The kid was hella like, oh, so you saw war and stuff, right? And he's just like...
I like that scene, too.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't want to be a part of that action.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking
I like
about.
how the main character grabbed him and was just like, stop fucking talking, basically. He was just like, shut up.
It's
like,
a little cheesy, but at the same time, like, the entire movie is very much in that tone.
It's supposed to be hammed up.
Just think like anime, but live action.
That's literally what I
can't compare.
I think it writes that tone very well.
Yes, it does. Because they all have like very like gestures and everything that are like very like over. It kind of looks like overacting, but it's all of that. Everyone does.
It's like theater acting, because theater acting, you have to be very like physical. You have to like show the audience your body language and make sure they get what you're trying to convey. So exactly. It's like I really like that kind of like raw, like emotional acting, which is why I really want to get into the next part. If you guys are cool with that, like I want to get into the sequence where Godzilla just completely annihilates the city that the main character's love interest works in.
Yeah.
And he realizes it once they start announcing where Godzilla is heading. So he heads to the city, and then as he's trying to get there, we just see pure chaos and pure destruction, really just showing off what Godzilla initially was created for, aside from like the atomic bombing, but just as like an unstoppable force of nature and something that is legitimately incomprehensible to them, because they're like, we don't know how to stop this. Like, it's just rampaging through everything. And once he finally gets into the city and he finds her, and there are so many shots in there that I really, really enjoyed, especially towards, I think it was like the midpoint or towards the end of that whole sequence, which leads to the part I'm about to bring up. But when his tail is like protruding, like
his dorsal spines start shooting
outwards. Oh my god, that was so beautiful, and just it was very reminiscent of like the 2014 one where but like
the tension that is built up because everyone just kind of stops. Everyone's in a panic running away, but then they see something is happening.
Like he's not moving, but his body language is like doing something, and it was so.
And then when it completes,
and then fires, dude, it was just the explosion was just insane. I don't know, because when we saw the build-up, the sound design, dude. The sound design in that sequence was so fucking good.
Dude,
I loved it so much.
I saw this movie in IMAX.
Oh, really?
Nice. And everything.
Okay, all right.
Bro, it was like an earthquake. Just like, it was so amazing. And everyone was like,
because
that was on regular, and
it was still somewhat, it was still like,
my shit was like rumbling. I was like, fuck, I feel this in my heart. I was like, oh my god. But when he shoots off his fire and his laser, it's not like how the other ones are, how it's like a stream basically. This one is like a straight up laser that once it hits its target, it explodes into a mushroom cloud.
And then the mushroom cloud is just the force of it, just annihilates the city. And the main character finally finds his wife, or like love interest, excuse me, and she pushes him out of the way into like that little alleyway, and like watches her get lifted up into the air by the pure force from like the aftermath. Not even Godzilla's beam itself, but the aftermath of his beam. Lifted billions of people in the air and just pushed them backwards. And it was just crazy to see him come out of the alley, kind of process it all, and just his raw emotion, dude. His screaming in pain. And he was like, she was right there. The black rain of blood, dude. Oh my god, it was that was like one of my favorite parts of the movie. It was so good. So good. Oh my god.
Just the complex emotions like he's feeling right there of just like even more regret. He's like, damn, like it happened again. Like I lost someone like I didn't realize I was like getting really close to. Like it's just it's just the perfect example of like you don't realize what you have until it's gone.
And the whole thing about it too is that Godzilla haunts his nightmares. Yes. This is the object of all of his survivors' guilt. He feels like he can never escape this, but in this moment, he like just is staring right at Godzilla, just screaming, like pouring his entire heart out. Like that scream is amazing. That's a great scream.
Like, dude, that like it just hit me because like, you know, we're all men here. We've all had that manly like pure rage, emotional scream, like at least once in our lives. Every man has had that at least once, or even women, or anybody, whatever you fucking identify as. Every living person has had that moment where they just release this pure rage of like, whether it's frustration, depression, sadness, like whatever feeling it is, we've all had that moment. So like when you see the guy do it, it's just so intense, and you're like, dude, I get it. That was me. If I lost my lady from a fucking giant spicy iguana, I'd be fucking furious too.
It's the fact that she saved him too.
Like I know, like it's even more survivor. Like you were saying, it adds to his survivor's guilt.
It's a little contrived that she was able to just push him into an alley. When he looks behind and then he sees like all the buildings destroyed and everything.
Like he technically should have. Like he probably should have died. Yeah, for being real, like that. If it was able to lift her up, it should have been like sucking him in. Like at least a little. But semantics, you know, nitpicking details. It's a fucking movie about a giant lizard that shoots fire.
I'll wait until the end to get to this. Yeah. But after this scene, everyone is on page with like, we need to fucking get this bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So like after this, the government's not really doing anything. They're all demilitarized because of the war that happened as a part of the negotiations with the U.S. So they have no actual weapons.
Right.
So the civilians all come together and they're like, we're going to do this ourselves. And there's a lot of ex-Navy that all get onto this plan, which Doc creates this whole strategy of how to kill Godzilla. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, sure. You guys are gonna have to help me explain it.
Well, I mean, it was sort of what I explained at the beginning with like the whole
oxidized,
like the
having to get two ships to wrap around him too, which was a little crazy.
The idea initially
terms,
is like they were gonna have the main character distract him by flying a kamikaze plane that he you know what I just realized we never mentioned the technician.
Yeah, the technician is the dude that he was introduced to at the very beginning.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about him.
So we'll go into that in a second.
But either way, like the plan was to have the main character lure Godzilla into a giant wave of water, and they were gonna have two naval ships kind of wrap. It was like the
Freon.
The Freon, yeah. So they had that stuff to wrap around Godzilla, so they could like basically drag him down to the ocean floor, and then his whole body would like oxidize, would compress and oxidize. Which what I had said in the beginning was like similar to how they stopped him in the original with the oxygen destroyer, which oxidized him and brought him, or like he was like on the ocean floor, right? Like they set it off
in the original. Yeah,
in the original with the original Serizawa character too. Like he's the one who like died and made the sacrifice. Yeah. Which is interesting. I like that idea that Godzilla movies are willing to kill off their main characters. Like that was but the only issue with like the 2014 was just they did it too early.
So once they drag him all the way down, if that didn't kill him, they had another one where basically he would be rapidly pulled right back up and his body would decompress. So I'm not sure if you guys have ever like went fishing or anything, but if you like reel a fish out like too quickly without stopping, his entire innards will explode through his mouth. So it's a gnarly scene. So everyone in the audience that I was in, because they were very interactive on this one, and the most reasonable parts. So like when they were saying like and then bring him up, I was like, oh, everyone's like, yeah, that makes actual sense. Like that seems like a very logical, because they don't have like big guns. They don't have any like crazy like anything that can like stand up to Godzilla. And these are all like civilians essentially. Right, so it's like what they have is like the most like oh yeah, that's you can do that. That's
clever,
practical. So that's like a very practical way of going about it. Sink them, bring them up, and if that doesn't work, shit.
Hope for the best. Hold your loved ones. That's basically what they. But I like that that whole sequence too when Doc is explaining the plan to the civilians and they all actually like come together. I like that idea of like the unity of like a lot of the times, you know, like in the real world, there's a lot of like tragic things that go on, and it unites a lot of people to kind of like do the right thing to help each other and like to preserve the future. So I like that idea that they presented in that whole briefing room sequence where they're explaining how they're going to stop Godzilla with the oxidization and the boat wrapping.
Yep.
So I really like that stuff too. It was really good.
Yeah, this whole movie like looked beautiful too. Like I really wanted to get into like the cinematography standpoint too. Like just considering I know the budget's been reported at 15 million, but I've heard like the director.
Was it really?
Yeah, but like apparently it was like I was telling Andrew earlier. There's kind of like a lot of asterisks behind that. Like for example, like have you heard of the movie Upgrade?
Yes.
Have you seen it? Okay,
seen it, but I heard of it.
It's a very like it's a cheap sci-fi movie. It was made for $5 million, but it looks like it has like a production budget of like 30 or 40 million. Okay. But the reason they were able to get around that is because they went and shot it and filmed it in Australia, and apparently it's a lot more cheaper to just get stuff over there. Like same thing with like go to Mexico, pesos. Like
I would be really interested in seeing how much it made in the U.S. because I've heard a lot of good buzz about this movie.
Godzilla Minus One. Yeah. It's doing good at the box office right now, but it's not. It wasn't released in wide release. At
was
first.
It not?
It's not. But it's the strategy. Its rollout is expanding more and more. It's getting really good buzz right now, and ever since it's been getting good buzz and it had a really good initial opening weekend, it's been expanding more out.
Hell yeah.
So it has been doing pretty well at the box office. Each fallout for each week has been like 30%, which for a movie like that, like that's pretty amazing. Like,
it's like how we felt about like The Northman, how like it was like a smaller movie, but it started garnering like more traction and building a bigger box office. Same thing as like that
was actually a box office flop.
Yeah, I know, but in terms of like it made more than people expected. Yeah. I think personally.
Well, okay, like I said, it was a box office flop. That's actually an example of a movie that kind of regained its revenue later on through like DVD sales. Yeah. Apparently, it was a huge hit on like Amazon Prime and streaming.
Word of mouth goes a long way.
No, exactly. It's one of the rare examples of like word of mouth, like fucking making a movie successful after the fact.
Right.
I think Anything, Anywhere, All at Once was
that's a resounding success.
Yeah,
Everything Everywhere.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that one at first, like no one really knew about it, and then because of that word of mouth, it exploded. Boom.
Yeah, A24's strategy with that movie was very well planned. Like they kind of knew what they had to. Like this is like some damn good shit, and like they just rolled it out, and it just kept staying in like just film nerds like rotation for weeks. Like a lot of people were hyping that movie up, and then awards contention was coming up, so it was getting a lot of accolades. Like it fucking made over $100 million. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. It made a lot of money too.
I think we can all agree. We all cried on that movie.
I didn't, but I still loved it.
I'm sorry. I don't cry as much. But
yeah, that's why.
But it means you're in touch with your feelings.
Yeah, I was about to say these are the type of emotions you want for these type of movies. So in Minus One, considering you're crying for a monster kaiju flick, that's something I can say over all these other monster movies.
Now that's some goddamn cinema.
Yeah, no, seriously. And like, just to get back to this, like, I just want to like, I haven't seen every single Godzilla movie. I haven't watched any of the schlocky Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla or
Hey,
Ghidorah.
You leave Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 3 out of this.
Okay. Hey man, I'll get back to it. I will watch it and I'll come back with my thoughts.
I guess that means I am the one who has seen the most. I haven't seen them all either, but I've seen like a couple of them. So like I guess I'm like the most versed in Godzilla, but that's still very
Monsterverse and Shin, and then that's kind of it.
I've seen like a lot of the Monsterverse stuff, and then the only thing I haven't seen from the Monsterverse that Matt was telling me about was like the Legacy of Monsters one.
Yeah, the Monarch show.
Because I don't have Apple Plus, so I'm not
which is an interesting thing I wanted to bring up, because like that series, kind of spoilers for that series, but like Andrew kind of mentioned it earlier with Kong Skull Island, because this series is in that universe, and that series takes place over like decades long. It starts like in the 50s, and like this movie Minus One takes place between like 45 and I believe 48. So, like,
it's a 3 years span of 3 years.
Yeah. So I think I googled it beforehand. I don't think I found anything saying that these universes were connected, but it'd be interesting if they retroactively kind of connect them, because I don't think this Minus One is connected even with Shin Godzilla.
No, it's not. No, because here's my thing. I've noticed that with a lot of Godzilla movies, majority of the time continuity it's either a hit or miss. It's either the movie you're watching is acknowledging what happened before, or it's like a completely new thing and they're taking a different approach to Godzilla, which is what I got with this one. It's very much clearly its own thing, but there might be some references. I might have misperceived them as references, but I feel like they're references. Everything I've been bringing up throughout the episode, so who knows?
Yeah, back to the final act of it.
Oh yeah, the final act. Yeah, let's get back.
So let's get into the engineer.
The engineer.
Tachibana.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce his name? Is it Tachibana?
Tachibana, I think. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yes. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Tachibana.
I'm such a cool guy.
Yeah, no, you got him. Yeah.
Anyway, so
teach me your ways, senpai.
The whole sinking him, floating him back up, explode Godzilla like that. If that didn't work, there was a secret plan that Koichi, the main character, had, where he was going to basically kamikaze into Godzilla. His mouth is like his weak spot, which they found out during the chase scene, which is a fucking amazing scene.
Yes.
Great fucking chase, like scary shit.
Built up anticipation in such a good way.
Just seeing Godzilla just staring straight at them as he was like gaining up on them is awesome. But so his plan is to kamikaze inside of Godzilla's mouth, and then hopefully he's weakened enough to both kill him and then also to like redeem himself for all of the stuff that he's been holding on to this whole time. Even though he has Akiko, the baby, he still feels like he has nothing left to live for. His war is still not over. And so in order to make this happen, he wanted to enlist an engineer to build this, to get this plane back to go flight ready, because it was still experimental. So he sends out letters to Tachibana, who is the engineer, the mechanic from the beginning. Do you want to talk about that?
So like just from like the beginning where we first meet him to where we meet him now.
Oh, just the letters of this scene.
Yeah, like he's Tachibana's he's the engineer.
He's the engineer
that, like, lets him go.
I know, yeah.
Like, hey.
But then he also gives him shit.
Yeah, he does.
Right after the fact. Like, he fucking hates him.
Yeah, that's
the juxtaposition is crazy.
That's the thing we just hadn't mentioned yet. But at the beginning of the film, the engineers, like the technician's like very friendly. He's super chill. Like, hey, welcome to our outpost or whatever. And then Godzilla attacks. He gets mad at him because he didn't fire on Godzilla. And all the other dudes that were there with him, like basically his friends, were killed. So it creates that dynamic. And once they're heading back home, I love the scene where he just literally like gives the pictures of all of them with their families and their loved ones, and he's like, "Fuck you, you killed them," and like without even saying it, he just like grunts at him and then walks away. It was such a good scene. And then it leads up to later on when the main character wants to like reach out to him. He sends a letter, and the letter literally says it was his fault that they all died on the island.
Tachibana.
It was Tachibana's. Thank you. I always like I like butcher their names. So Tachibana killed all the men on that island, and he's like, "What are you doing? Send these letters." He's like, "I need you to build this plane," which is what Rico was bringing up about their backup plan, where he would crash into basically onto Godzilla's mouth. But we find out later. Should I bring that part up?
Well, first, he wanted Tachibana specifically because he works on the kamikaze plane, so he would know how to. He knows how to rig it. So no one else knows that Tachibana and Koichi are having this side plan in case. And so they set that up, and they even make it a point to not show us what they're saying after a certain point.
Yeah, it's very clever editing.
Then it leads up to the whole shit, the incredible, as Rico was saying, the incredible chase sequence where where our main character is luring Godzilla out to the ocean and like just firing his weapons, and all that stuff was so incredibly well built. And there's another scene I want to talk about real brief, was when they first encountered Godzilla initially on the wooden boat. Oh, I like that whole sequence
chase.
Too. That whole chase sequence too, where he's like shooting at him, and then they land the mine in his mouth, and he reheals that.
I thought that was the first one. That's what you were talking about.
Yeah,
is that what you were referencing?
That was okay.
Oh, okay. I was like,
that's how they find out the weak spot of the mouth.
Right.
When they basically, Godzilla's healing regeneration is fucking nuts.
That's the thing. I feel
it's
like
very fast.
Yeah, like it's crazy how fast he
blew up a quarter of his face
and then just goes Wolverine as and we're just like.
Okay.
I was like, so this is all right then, let's do this. But then that whole chase sequence where Godzilla is like going after him in the water is incredible, and then everyone getting the ships to work, and then just the build up of Godzilla like firing his beam when he was in the water. Oh, that was such like it was pure silence in the
So Koichi's going directly into Godzilla. Godzilla got fucked up from the drowning, from the rising up quickly. So he's everyone's like, all right, we're done. That was our last plan. Like, we're done. And Koichi is going right towards him. Godzilla's trying to charge up his laser. He's fucked up though.
He's fucked up. He got their plan didn't work, but it did quite a bit of damage.
It did a lot. And you can tell just by how he looks. He looks like he's already died.
He's like he looks like Shin Godzilla.
Yeah. So Koichi starts flying right at him. Do you want to talk about that ending part right there with
how they stopped Godzilla initially?
Yeah, who was it that who's the guy who we were referencing earlier? It was Doc, or not Doc. It was the other guy, the captain.
Captain Oda.
Yeah, because he knows what Koichi is planning, and he tells him like a little bit beforehand, like, "Hey, I know what you're planning. If you orphan that kid, I will not forgive you." Yeah. Which I was like, oh, like again, like really tugging at the heartstrings too, because like I know we mentioned it earlier, but like. They're all friends to the status where like they go to each other's house every day.
They have like breakfast or lunch and just conversate like we are right now. Like it's just like I like how they show that connection.
They're so close that they're giving him shit for not marrying Noriko.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, it's that kind of friendship.
Yeah. Cool. So like him saying these lines to Koichi is like it's out of love. He's like, come on, you don't gotta do this.
It doesn't feel generic. It means something.
No, exactly.
It means something. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring up that moment because that's like one of my favorite moments because it's like, okay, like, yeah, that's what is going through. That's what he thinks is going through his mind. But like, as we're getting to, like our major reveal. But like it's Koichi's plan to just kamikaze and like suicide himself for the greater good. But earlier on, when he's talking with Tachibana, there is another scene which is interspliced now. Basically, it's also cool foreshadowing too, because they actually do mention it very early on in the movie at one point, saying that it was kind of ridiculous that kamikaze pilots didn't have ejection seats. So that was like a major thing. Like that's like an easy technology they could have came up with. So it's really cool that freaking it actually all comes to fruition. And it's such an epic moment where he does eject himself like a split second. It really is a blink and you can miss it.
And it kind of seems like he was debating on whether or not he wanted to like eject or not.
Or like, and even that, there was like sort of like a thing of like, should I tell him like that there is?
But
like,
his answers, when he showed him the picture that Akiko like drew for him, and then showed that he still kept
all those photos of the people who died that day, like it just made him go. He really like he understands.
Tachibana
forgave him because he was like he never let go of that like guilt. Like
I feel like if he never said any of that, he might not have told him about the ejection.
He might not, or even if he never took out the photos, he might have like would have been one of those like tragic international films where it's just like everything goes to shit. It's just like one character like like in the movie
in the beginning of that conversation where he's like the ejection seat conversation. He's just like, Koichi's hands are shaking as he's sitting in the pilot seat. Tachibana's on the side, and he's just like, and Koichi's just like, it's weird. I actually want to live now. And then Tachibana's like, I bet all those guys that died wanted to live too. Like, they have focus on the
Tachibana give no fucks.
But then after he pulls out all that stuff, it kind of convinces him, like,
all right, I'll tell him about it.
So then
just kind of my respect back.
Koichi goes into Godzilla's mouth, shoots off the ejection seat, gets out of there. Tachibana's listening to the report, like the live report, basically. It defeats Godzilla. He sinks down. He's exploding into like a bunch of pieces. And then when Tachibana hears that Koichi is safe, he celebrates like such an emotionally charged celebration. And it's such a beautiful moment right there. And then
it echoes how we all feel, like as an audience member. Like yes, like it's so well earned.
In that moment, Koichi chose life.
He did because he could have easily just let himself die if he really wanted to.
The entire time and it shows in Sumiko, the auntie that was watching the Akiko. But in the beginning of the movie, when he comes back and she's like, wait, you're back? Like, oh, fuck. And she gives him hella shit for being a coward and not dying in a kamikaze attack, which is considered in Japan like it's an honorable thing to do, like for your country, very nationalist. It's like, and it's shown in like Doc where he's saying our country does not value life. At the end of the movie, Sumiko sees Koichi come off the ship, and she like slaps him on the shoulder and just like beating him up, basically like, how dare you risk your life like that? Like, and she's so happy and crying that he's alive.
It was beautiful.
And then like she hands him the letter and everything.
It was just, and then that's when he runs and he finds out that Noriko survived. It's really nice. Honestly, here's the thing. We all knew it was gonna happen. We knew she wasn't like dead.
No, I was pretty convinced she was dead.
I thought for sure she was dead.
The way it was presented,
I know, just the way that certain Godzilla movies have gone in the past. They'll be like, this character is dead, but oh no, they survived miraculously with a bunch of injuries, which is what happened. And I was just like, that's nice. I still liked it. Not that I didn't expect. I was like, I still liked it. It was like, it was one of the few times where that trope didn't bother me.
I gotta say, makeup department let down the movie
a little bit.
What did?
Makeup department.
The makeup department. Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, she has bandages on, but
she should have been.
She has no scratches, nothing.
She should have been fully bandaged. I think that would have been funnier. She would have just been like, "Is your war over?"
The way they presented it, it's like, damn, homegirl was slammed against some rocks or something.
Like it was the force of God fucking Zilla. How was she flying like that? Why does she look better than she did before she got hit? I don't understand.
I guess that's why it freaking worked for me, because it surprised me she lived.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, the way it was presented, I was like, yeah,
I mean, she got some of that. She got some of that Godzilla healing factor. Let me tell you.
As an audience goer, I was like taken out of it. I was like, oh wow, okay, all right, she lived. Deus Ex Machina, whatever. But at the same time, Deus Ex, yeah. But at the same time, as a viewer, I'm also like, yes, let's please have a happy ending.
It's still nice. I don't even.
This man deserves that.
This man has been through so much.
Yeah. Like,
let him give this man a break.
And she even says, like, "Is your war over?" And he breaks down.
It was so fucking sweet. I was like,
oh,
damn. Now that's some real love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the perfect note to end on.
Exactly.
Like, I think it was like, I'm pretty sure there was conversations about the ending on how it should have went, and I honestly, like, I agree with you guys. Like, as cheesy like as it is, like it works for me for as like that emotional impact at the end. Like, okay, his war is finally over, and he does finally get to, like, be at peace.
Yeah,
he kind of redeemed himself, which is.
And then with I want to like just backtrack a bit just to like when Godzilla is defeated and everything, like the way he dies and how he gets like kind of torn apart. That's sort of how he dies in the original too. Like he sort of just gets oxidized, like his skin starts.
Yeah, he's just nothing but skeleton.
And then he just turns into a legit skeleton. So like that's why when it did it like that, I was like, that's kind of like the old. I don't know if you saw me in the theater, but I went like this, like that's like the old one. Like I just literally was just sitting there like that watching it. It was cool.
Yeah, this one ends interestingly. Like it is setting up a new movie. After.
I would assume
it seems like there's like an embryo at the bottom or something.
Oh no,
like,
that's him actually regenerating.
Yeah, like that.
Okay, so we're gonna get another. It's just gonna be him again.
I would assume so. If they choose to, I feel like with a lot of Godzilla movies, they leave them open ended so they can be like, maybe we'll come back to this, maybe we won't.
Did Shin Godzilla kind of end like that? Just out of okay, you don't have to go too into it.
Yes,
open ended.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but let's get into final thoughts and then we'll move into ratings.
Yep.
I feel like this movie is great as a standalone. Yes. I don't want them to make a second one. I mean,
I agree.
I mean, if it's still the same quality, where would you even go?
-2.
Don't do the same characters for sure. Like Koichi's, his war's over.
Done.
Yeah, exactly. Please
it up,
do not put this man through any more bullshit.
He has been through so much. Let him live, please.
Yes.
I'll beg. I'll do it. I'll beg.
Anyways, final thoughts.
Yeah, do you guys want to go into ratings or?
Yeah, final thoughts and ratings.
Final thoughts and ratings.
Let's do it.
Okay. Do you guys want me to go first? Or?
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
We'll go.
Okay, yeah, sure. We'll just go.
Okay,
for sure. Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, I think from the Godzilla movies that I've seen, I mean, I feel like I can pretty confidently say that, like, I'm pretty sure this is probably like my favorite Godzilla movie. I feel like that it'll probably still be the same even after I watch all the older schlocky ones. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like that's going to change. I am much more of a fan of like this serious tone. It won't.
It won't.
You're like, yeah, no, this is like a high standard.
I've watched a couple schlocky ones already. This
if you want to see Godzilla do a drop kick, you can watch the schlocky one.
Oh, is that the one where he's like surfing with his tail? Yeah, I've seen that.
And he's literally just.
It's like fucking Power Rangers fucking show. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I'll get back to whenever I watch Shin Godzilla. I'll update you guys on my Godzilla
I also
rankings.
need to watch Shin Godzilla. I have not seen that one. Like honestly, it was just so good.
Yeah,
this movie was so good. But continue with your final thoughts.
But yeah, I feel like I can pretty solidify my opinion from the ones I have seen. This is probably the best iteration of Godzilla that I've personally seen and that I personally connected with. I really loved all the character work. The dialogue was very well written, very well executed. Very well acted. You actually felt the emotion from each character. The action sequences were fantastic. Mm-hmm. I know we didn't talk too much about those, but they looked amazing. For all the major sequences, there's probably like around 4 major sequences with Godzilla. They were all extremely well executed. Like the visuals look astonishing. I know we talked about the budget for everything that was put to screen here. Not a cent was wasted, and yeah, I really love this movie. And I think I'm gonna solidify it at an 8 out of 10. It's a really great movie. I guess only minor criticisms I would have is probably just like a few pacing issues in the middle act, a little bit. I wouldn't say like there's, I guess, many other errors wrong with the movie. I guess I'm just kind of going off how I felt. I could definitely see this being like a 10 out of 10 for most people. I see it's like at an 8.5 on IMDb right now. So like a lot of people are like clearly like loving this movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
So yeah, but for me, like as far as like kaiju flicks goes, like this is definitely probably like the best like monster flick I've maybe ever seen. Honestly, like it's up there with like maybe like Cloverfield is like another one I really like.
Well-deserved title for it.
But yeah, I love this movie. 8 out of 10 is where I'm solidifying. What about you, Andrew? What do you think?
Well, as a huge Godzilla fan, I loved it. I love all movies, you know. So it takes a lot for me to not like a movie, and this movie just really hit all the marks for me in terms of a Godzilla movie. It was a more seriously toned Godzilla movie. All the characters were well written for the most part. Godzilla sequences were fucking godly, you know, like. It just hit all the marks, and all the actors gave incredible performances. I mean, for me, this movie is definitely a 9 out of 10. Like, I loved it. Like, it's in my top. It's in my top 3 Godzilla favorite Godzilla movies of all time. So it's really good. And if you can't catch it in the theaters, watch it when like you can find it on a streaming service, because it is worth the fucking watch. It is so good. So 9 out of 10 for me. How about you, Rico? How do you feel?
Honestly, this movie tripped me out. I had no expectation going into it. I've seen like parts of like older Godzilla movies, and they've been really not good. But my benchmark for any Godzilla movie has always been like Shin Godzilla. You guys haven't seen it, so I'm not going to go into it. I do have a lot of gripes with that movie, pacing wise, very much so pacing wise. But so I base all of my Godzilla movies off of that. And this one, I gotta say, I would probably list this one higher than Shin Godzilla, in my personal opinion. A lot of people will probably go back and forth because they're great. Both of them, they're on. I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10. After my first viewing, or I only seen it one time, but after that initial viewing that I saw it in, I was like 10 out of 10. I was like, holy shit, fucking 10 out of 10. I was like, God,
that was
damn.
me too. That was me too. Once we were out, I was like, that was fucking 10 out of 100 out of 10. Like,
dude, I was fucking blown away. Like, my heart was just like rumbling from all of the theater experience, the adrenaline going in there. Like, there's a lot of parts where it's like it focuses on the humans way more than Godzilla. However, it's not to a detriment to the movie. At the same time, like, the human story is just as compelling as seeing the action that comes with Godzilla's appearances. Godzilla, absolutely, he is straight up a villain in this movie.
He is.
Like, he's very much a provoked villain. But, like, everything that he does is so epic and grand in scale. It's insane. And then you see all the emotions going in. The only thing that I would dock it down is what you were saying, some of the pacing in the middle of the way. But also like the
Matt said you brought up pacing.
But also the makeup, like you can tell there is a budget, but at the same time, like there's also a lot of contrived scenes that come in. Like, it's like I'll bend it.
For me personally, I feel like how do I explain it? Because I personally don't think everything had like the of put in needed to be in there. Like, I think maybe cut down some of the like the conversations between all of them, like, you know, talking at home or whatever. Like, I don't mind some of those scenes, but I feel like sometimes I was like, okay, I get it. We're all anxious about the war and Godzilla, so let's get back to Godzilla, because he's kind of on the way right now. You know, like, I was kind of thinking that a little bit. So I do agree with Matt too in terms of like the pacing and stuff. But I just, like, this is the first Godzilla movie I've seen in theaters in a long time. Like, the last one I saw was, like, King of the Monsters in 2019 or 2018 or 17, whenever that fucking movie came out. But it was really nice experience to like, experience a genuinely good Godzilla movie with no real problems to the point where, like, it ruined the experience for me. So it was really good.
But yeah, my favorite scene in the entire movie was when Doc made his speech before their attack on Godzilla, where he's just like, our country hasn't valued life. Like, his entire speech right there is so damn poignant, and like, it really shows the change in not only where the mentality is, just like from like Sumiko is like the biggest example of how people were conditioned to believe in a certain nationalistic way of like the value of life. And then at the end, like it just shows the change that happened after this great devastation that happened, which is in the form of the war and then also in Godzilla. It reinvigorated them to give life a try. So there's so many themes in this movie that I just loved. So initially when I came out, 10 out of 10. I honestly, if I watch it again, probably will say 10 out of 10. Like I would say, like,
you know what? Like as a professional, I'm gonna say 9, but deep down in my heart, it's a fucking 10.
I don't know. I'm like, I'll probably go back and forth. Honestly,
I feel that. Hey, this ain't gonna be like an Ant-Man Quantumania situation where we're gonna be like, oh yeah. Hey, actually, if you guys want to get into that, okay, we already went through our ratings. I know I was the only one that got that in there.
Oh yeah.
I know homeboys here don't feel the same about Quantumania.
We listed that shit as a 5 out of 10.
Both of you, all of us actually.
And
I know, dude. I'm so disappointed in myself.
A fucking 5. A 1! It's a 1! God, that movie was garbage. They wasted Kang the Conqueror. They fucking ruined Ant-Man. Like I said in the episode, Ant-Man should have died. I love Paul Rudd, but he should have died.
yes, he really should have.
So these are our Ant-Man fixed ratings.
Okay, so now
Andrew's fixed rating is a fucking -1. It's a fucking -1.
So
God.
For me, I was comparing it to like Thor Love and Thunder. I was like, if
Thor Love and Thunder.
I was like, if Thor Love and Thunder is a 1, this one's not as bad as Thor Love and Thunder. Yeah. But I'll give it like a fucking 2 or 3. I'll say 3. I'll say 3.
I'm sticking with
No, I'll say 2 because I actually fell asleep in the middle of the movie.
So you
fucking
fair
terrible.
enough. It loses a rating because you fell asleep.
I would assume it would go up because he missed more than that.
I mean, technically,
you were spared.
You know,
like what?
That's kind of something there. Oh man, but yeah, definitely not something I ever want to talk about again.
Yeah, if you're in the 1 to 3 territory, guys, like it doesn't fucking matter.
Our credibility when we said 5.
I'm glad.
When Rico and I were re-listening to that, I was like, because like we were trying to get, because I knew I rated it a 5, but he was really like, what did I rate?
I was like that was shit. I labeled that like probably I was harsh. I was like a 2 or 3, and I listed the same as you.
Yeah, fucking he said 5. I was like, what? No,
we were actually shocked. That was crazy.
Yeah. So updated ratings on that. You guys are welcome. But now that all that's out of the way, you guys wanna wrap this up?
Yeah,
and
let's do it.
Let everyone know what's to come.
All right. So, what are we doing next week for the episode?
So next week, we hope you guys liked our 1 episode format. We're going to continue that going forward. Our next movie next week is going to be Silent Night, starring Joel Kinnaman, directed by John Woo, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
James Woo, right? Is it John or James?
It's John. It's John.
John.
Woo.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, and that's going to release hell of a time on Monday, December 25th, which is going to be sick.
Yes.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Although it does happen on the 20th.
Mary.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, Mary. Just as Mary.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I'm actually a little surprised this movie does somewhat have a Christmas theme to it. It's so
interesting.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it next episode. We'll get into it next episode. But that is what is to come next. We're very excited. We all saw it in theaters, and we have some opinions on it.
Yeah. So, do you want to plug in some of the social medias?
We did that at the beginning, didn't we?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to send off our viewers. We just streamed this live on Twitch, so that will also be provided in the link in the description, along with our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the socials. They'll be down there at the bottom in a very nice, orderly fashion. So make sure to follow us on each of them. We would really appreciate it. A lot of them have been moving up slowly but surely, but we'd love to see the progress. So thank you guys. We love you guys, and it's good to be back. This is pretty awesome.
I'm glad, dude.
Yeah, freaking. We're like Rico said earlier. We're gonna be doing the live setting as much as we can. Mm-hmm. If we can, we'll plan around that, and obviously you guys will know as well.
Point is, we're back.
Yeah, baby, we're back. Woo! So yes, we hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of another movie podcast, and yeah, we'll catch you guys next week. Bye.
Later.
Adios.
All right. 10, 5, 3. All right.
I was like,
Yo, oh shit! No, you guys were on your toes. I just had to see. All right. For realsies this time. All right. An actual 5-second count.
All right.
5, 4. Not like this matters because it's delayed. 3, 2, 1.